Right, all you up-all-nighters, you insomniatic TV watchers, gamers, grapplers, and drivers, and especially you streetlight crusaders from all around the world. Welcome to the 5:24 in the morning edition of the Tuesday Night Special. I am your insomniatic host from the East Coast, DJ Smokey, bringing you the best from the North, South, East, and West that the world of music, games, and wrestling has to offer. And seeing the fact that this is not only the last Tuesday Night Special for this year of the Fist, but the first Tuesday Night Special of this Lunar New Year, we might as well waste no time and explain to you guys what's going to happen on this very special Lunar Streetlight Fighting Edition of the Tuesday Night Special. Because we kick things off with what happened during this week's edition of Monday Night Raw from Atlanta, Georgia. Yes, made in Georgia. Next up on the plate, we go into a very special New York street fighting edition of the As Seen on TV. And according to Carl and the Maestro, it may involve cheese or a shredder of sorts. Oh, I get it. Also, besides that, we go ahead and check out some video game hits, clips, award winners, and scratch that indie itch you've got all from the world of Cade for another edition of the Cade Triple S Deluxe. Then we find out what sort of weather we can expect as we transfer over to a new month, and if it's gonna get any warmer than the golf score that you got last week on the course. And if Dan the Weatherman Stu didn't freeze from the last time he was here for another edition of a weather update. And according to Carl and the Maestro, he's just fine. He's wearing this giant mink coat now. Why? Then finally, last but not least, and hopefully before Dan the Weatherman Stu coat freezes over after he splashes in the puddle in front of Music Village headquarters, we wrap up this show yet another edition of the Indy Report, which is me giving you guys two news stories followed up by local content information from local artists performing in a local area live near you. And I guess with that said, I might as well tell Carl and the Maestro to kick up the beats, crank out the tunes, and most importantly, make sure you handle that puddle outside so Dan the Weatherman Stu doesn't become a popsicle, a disco popsicle, because it's time for us to bring some fun and delight on your street-lit, moonlit, lunar Tuesday night. Only here, right here on the Tuesday Night Special. So let's get this Streetlight show started, folks. Right, all you Streetlight Crusaders, and I guess a couple of wrestling fans who are still up for tonight. Welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And now it's time for us to talk about what happened during this week's edition of Monday Night Raw from Atlanta, Georgia. Made in Georgia. And I'm being told by Carl and the Maestro, after tonight with Raw back to 3 hours, we're back to 2 parts for Raw to be mentioned. All right? And he sprung that on me by surprise with this note he just handed me. Yeah, take it back. We got work to do. And speaking of people with a mission and a plan that they're planning on doing, Monday Night Raw would kick off with none other than Seth Rollins, who would say that it's its favorite time of the year with Mania season right around the corner, and it will all kick off after he wins the Royal Rumble. And would say 2025 didn't go the way he hoped to kick things off because, well, he had the most embarrassing loss of his career after losing to CM Punk and had to look within to remind himself who he is. And he would say that, yeah, he's Seth freaking Rollins. And the most focused version of himself is the most dangerous because he is unstoppable and plans on tossing everyone out of the most star-studded Rumble, especially Roman Reigns. But really hopes that CM Punk is the last man standing so he can crush his dreams straight to dust. And after he wins the Royal Rumble, he's planning on either fighting against Cody or against the man with the title that he's been keeping warm for him thus far, a man by the name of Gunther. And the second he mentioned Gunther would come out and would immediately tell him, "Where you've been for the past several months? While I was defending this championship, you were off going out and just whining and complaining and doing everything besides focusing on the task at hand," and hopes that he focus on the Royal Rumble so he doesn't win, or that he does win the Royal Rumble instead of focusing on all this stuff that he's got going on with Roman Reigns and betrayers around him. And then Seth Rollins would say that that belt was the belt that he made and it wouldn't exist without him. And Gunther would say that, yeah, you are one of the best in the ring and you did prove yourself, but this year, you're not the best. I am, and I got the title to prove it. And would tell him to win the Royal Rumble so he can challenge him at WrestleMania so he can learn who this title is synonymous with, which is me. Only for of all people to come out and get booed all the way back to where he lives, none other than Logan Paul. And what we learned or heard from the boos, that he would say that he's great at everything, brings up the Netflix era and says that it needs a new face to represent it, and it doesn't have to be these two guys because they've already hit their ceiling, while he's still on the first floor climbing up, and would say that you don't have to worry about somebody, or you really have to worry about somebody who built their career faster than you did too in his rookie year. And would say that he's officially entering in the Royal Rumble match and is looking to head on to fight either Cody Rhodes or Gunther. For Gunther to switch up his answer earlier to say, you know what, I want you to win the Royal Rumble so I can slap that stupid look off your face. And for Seth to say that the only embarrassment will be is him beating him for that belt. Right? Okay. And then we would head backstage where we would see CM Punk saying that he doesn't care who's in the Royal Rumble, for Sami Zayn to show up and say, oh, you say I'm not on your level. Yeah, you're right, because one of us is a main eventer of WrestleMania and the other one wasn't. But at the same time, Sami Zayn only main evented night 1, not night 2, back when it was a giant WrestleMania, and technically WrestleMania Sunday is the main event, but I'm not gonna pull hairs, because a person who can stir the pot a little bit better than me, none other than the Herald of Doomsday himself, Karrion Kross, who would immediately tell him that this year is your best chance to win the Royal Rumble and get a world of opportunity. And then for Kross to disappear into the night, for Cody Rhodes to show up, and for Sami Zayn to look like he saw a ghost. And after that backstage confrontation that we'll dive into a little bit more later, folks, the next match to take place on Monday Night Raw would see, or the first, would be none other than the War Raiders going one-on-one against the Judgment Day for the World Tag Team Championships. Now, prior to this match taking place, we would see A-Town Down Under saying that they're officially on Raw and here to take over. Reminding me of the not the NWO, the BWO back when they were in ECW, which was funny. But something that wasn't a laughing matter during this match, folks, despite the Judgment Day using a speed kill offense, during this match things would get ugly. Because JD McDonough would go for an Asai moonsault on the outside of the ring and would land back of the head and neck first on that announce table on the outside. Now, granted, it's not the old school announce table that everybody's used to, but it's a little harder, it looks a bit more expensive, and it didn't move when JD hit it. So, not only the fans and even Michael Cole and even Pat McAfee was stunned, awed, and amazed that this man would get back up in this match, not only to see his partner go for a roll-up on Eric for a near fall, but would even see none other than a counter, or more or less a cannonball counter into a power bomb, into a cannonball splash to the outside of the ring by Ivar on the barricade. Then would see a double back suplex for a near fall by the Judgment Day members on Ivar for a near fall. A helo by Ivar, or to Ivar by Dominic Mysterio, still for a near fall. And to make that wandering neck injury even worse, a death row, which for those who don't know is a full Nelson kick to the back of the head to JD, and then would follow things up with a nasty Uranagi and a Tiger knee directly to the face of Dominic Mysterio, still for a near fall. Only for JD to still fight during this match with an avalanche version of his Devlin slide for a near fall on Ivar of all people. But ultimately, this match would come to an emphatic end after we would see Rey Mysterio's son Dominic go for a 619, only for that to get interrupted with a war machine for the tag team champions to retain the titles under some game competition via pinfall. And for a little bit of an update, folks at home, for JD McDonald, for those who's worried out there, he would say the following. First off, thanks to everyone for the messages and concern. I'm good. I've got a couple of broken ribs and a punctured lung, so I'm gonna be out for a couple of months. All things considered, it could have been a lot worse, so I'm grateful to that. See you in a bit. Wow. And you could tell he was Finn Balor's student, because that's one tough man right there who still wrestled the match with a couple of broken ribs and a punctured lung. Yeah, he earned my respect, even though he earned my respect long ago back for his performance in NXT and the fights he went through with Ilya Dragunov, but it sucks to see that he might not make it to WrestleMania this year. So, get well soon, man, and we hope to see you down the road pull off some more amazing matches. But besides that get well soon message we gave to JD McDonald, folks, next up, we would see none other than Rey Mysterio going one-on-one against Xavier Woods. Now, Xavier Woods not only asking for respect for his family being here, but at the same time telling the people to stop touching him, and would also say that he's Atlanta's favorite son, and he's the best thing that came out of here, and is going to do something that the Atlanta Falcons couldn't do, and that's bring a win to this city. Now, before we go into if he's able to pull that off, as a surprise update by Carla the Maestro, we have been told that Zelina Vega is gonna be here for her last night on Raw because she's been transferred to SmackDown due to the open trade system that is currently still going on. So they couldn't wait until after WrestleMania for a draft, but then again, how late is WrestleMania this year? I could see the reason why in the world they didn't. But back to Xavier Woods, saying that he's gonna bring a win to the city. Was he able to pull it off? Well, during this contest, as we would see a more darker side of Woods, especially with that Majin Buu symbol tattoo on his arm, and would live up to the evil of it by not only pulling off a double foot stomp on the ropes to Rey Mysterio as he was hanging from the ropes, and even a baseball slide, as well as pulling off a walking, stalling suplex like the British Bulldog for a near fall. For Rey Mysterio to counter with not only a sunset flip, but even a cold red follow-up, still for a near fall. Only for Xavier Woods to try to get a little support from his family members to try to beat the Men of Mystery with the mask, only for them to reveal that they all wore a New Day Suck shirt, his mom, his dad, and even his sister. Ouch! Only for that distraction to last for just about another 30 seconds, because Rey Mysterio would give him not only a 619 and a drop of the dime for a hometown loss for someone who promised to bring a win to the city via pinfall. And to make matters worse, folks, his opponent would go over, shake hands with his family, and would even wear a New Day Suck shirt himself. which I got a feeling is most likely on WWEshop.com. Why am I holding a thumb up? Nobody could see that at home. I need to stop doing that. But besides, stop doing things that people can't see on a radio broadcast that should be on a video broadcast of sorts. I think it's time for us to head back into that music, and when we return, we'll be back with the second half of what happened during this week's edition of Monday Night Raw from Atlanta, Georgia, as the Tuesday Night Special rolls on right after this. So don't go anywhere just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Right, all you Streetlight Crusaders, and especially you wrestling fans still up for tonight, welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special, and now it's time for us to talk about what happened during the second half of Monday Night Raw from Atlanta, Georgia. And the next thing to take place on Monday Night Raw, and according to Carl and the Maestro, would be backstage, or more or less on the said ramp, which would see none other than Jey Uso making his way out and yeeting with the fans. And not only dancing on the announce table, turning Raw into a full-on block party at this point, but would at the same time say that he needed that, especially after the loss that he got last Saturday due to the loss that he took to Gunther. But at the same time, he said he was going to dust himself off and make sure that he can get back in the ring with Gunther, because even though Gunther is good, he can beat him. And he said that he's going to make sure that he's going to win the Royal Rumble to main event WrestleMania, because he's main event Jey Uso. And before we could possibly forget, after that, we would see Pat McAfee with a microphone, not only talking to Xavier Woods' family, wondering why in the world they turned their back on him, because, yeah, they were once good guys, now they're bad guys, and now they suck. That was from his sister, and his mother would say we raised him better. And at the same time, we would see from Yachty in the crowd saying that he wants to go up against Rhea Ripley. All right. And as we head backstage with Kathy Kelly, we would hear her talking to Lyra Valkyria, saying that she now officially enters herself into the Royal Rumble match. And before we could possibly forget, Charlotte also said she's entering herself into the Royal Rumble match to win, her 15th world title? Yeah, slowly but surely starting to catch up to Ric Flair, and would even say with a tear in her eye that she's gonna win the Rumble. Yikes, and I got a feeling that's bad news for all 29 other competitors, but before that gets spoiled for all 29 other competitors, including Lyra Valkyria, she would then be met by American Made and would say, oh, and that's the closest any of you are going to get to a title, especially you, Ivy Nile, for them to run into the Alphas actually working out backstage, only for Chad Gable to make himself feel better, saying that they're pathetic, they're losers, you know the drill, let's move on to the next match. Seriously, they need to cut it out. Leave them alone. You already beat the man. Now you're just gonna beat him mentally too? Knock it off. Guys got better things to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if Otis eliminates him from the Rumble. That's if he's in it. I don't know. But the next match to take place on this said Monday Night Raw for this week would see none other than Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez teaming up to fight against the women's tag team champions of Bianca Belair and Naomi. And during this match, more action went back and forth. Not only we would see a double side Russian leg sweep and an elbow drop combination to Raquel for a near fall, but even seeing a flip leg drop combination to Liv Morgan for near fall. And and even seeing Liv Morgan come back with a tornado face buster during this match to Naomi, still for a near fall. But ultimately, this match would come to an end again after we would see a KOD counter to the Oblivion, only for Dominic Mysterio to run interference during this match, only for none other than Raquel Rodriguez to take advantage after a split-legged moonsault near fall by doing the Chingale bomb on the apron to Naomi, only for Liv Morgan to roll over into the cover, pick up the scraps, and win this match and potentially get a future Women's Tag Team Championship match via pinfall. And meanwhile, backstage, we would see Rhea Ripley talking about the fact that she might be banged up, but at the same time would remind Nia Jax on Saturday why she's always on top, and would say that it doesn't matter who wins the Royal Rumble, they're gonna get dominated at WrestleMania. And then for Bayley to show up seeing the fact that she's the defending Women's Royal Rumble champion and going to be in the Rumble this year, Rhea would say good luck, only for her to run into her old damage control buddy for Io to say, see you Saturday. Okay. Then we would see in the ring none other than Kai Cenat, and apparently according to Colin Meister, reminding me a guy who is famous on Twitch, to get inside the ring and saying that he would have a blast here with everybody and that everybody here is amazing. And is looking forward to being at the Rumble, only for Pat McAfee to tell him that you got all access to do whatever you want, just like iShowSpeed has all access. And then would say that, yeah, he's looking to see what's up with ISOSpeed at the said Rumble. Yikes. So what is that going to lead to, a match or a stream off? And Colin Michael said maybe both. All right. And speaking of streams and games, folks, next up inside the ring, we would see none other than the wise man Paul Heyman with OTC chants aplenty, saying that he's the one behind the one and only Tribal Chief and the person on the cover of 2K25 for this year, folks, none other than Roman Reigns. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. For the second time in his career, Roman Reigns on the cover of the game. And Paul Heyman would say that there's a big responsibility to be on that cover, and the Tribal Chief can live up to that said role, and would say that the Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns is going back to the mindset of one versus all, and will take back his championship at WrestleMania, and it all starts at the Rumble. Because everybody's coming after Roman Reigns, because not only he's the biggest star on Raw and SmackDown, but in the entire world. And if Elon Musk decides to colonize Mars, he'll be the biggest star there too. And would say that he doesn't care which one of these Roman Reigns wannabes is going to be in the Rumble, only for Drew McIntyre to respond to that. And what would Drew say? That he's the only person, or the only person that should be nervous in his presence should be Sami Zayn. And he would say that he's responsible for his success, for the fans not to care, but at the same time for Drew McIntyre to say that he's the daddy of the bloodline. Now, before you think this man fully went off his rocker, look at the facts. Because after the Royal Rumble in 2020, as the Scottish Terminator actually lived up to his destiny and would send Brock Lesnar over the ropes and would even win the championship at the pandemic, he would say that Brock Lesnar would send him away, only for him to latch himself on to Roman Reigns, harness his talent for evil, and only thing he's looking for now is a thank you from Paul Heyman. For Paul to thank him and for him to say, you're crowding me. And then for Drew McIntyre to tell his boy that he's gonna target him, he's gonna leave him a bloody mess, and he's gonna throw his lifeless corpse over the top rope and win the Rumble. And the person he was talking about? CM Punk. Of course. But after that endless vendetta message given to the wise man, next up backstage we will see Braun Breaker saying that he's in the Royal Rumble and half of the people in this Royal Rumble are senior citizens. and none of them can throw me over the rope because I'm a badass. And in my hometown too? Yeah, where my dog's at? Only for Penta to interrupt by immediately showing he has no cero miedo and would look at the Intercontinental Championship on the shoulder of Braun Breaker. Oh, and I got a feeling Penta might be in the Rumble too, but what if his brother Phoenix shows up? But before we ponder that moment, folks, we go into our main event of the evening, which would see Sami Zayn going one-on-one against Drew McIntyre for the 11th time in their careers. And with Sami Zayn having an 0-10 record against the Scottish Terminator, he would definitely bring it during this match. Not only would it tilt the world tornado DDT counter for a near fall, only for him to move out of the way of a Claymore kick that almost made his nose more busted than it already is, for Sami to get tossed into the timekeeper's area for a 9 count, come back from a spinebuster powerbomb for 2 separate near falls, to hit a sunset flip for a near fall, and even a blue thunder bomb, still for a near fall, and would counter the Claymore kick once again, which would still lead to a near fall. But ultimately, just like death and taxes, it's inevitable when it's Drew McIntyre, because when Sami Zayn decided to go for the exploder suplex directly into the Helova kick, he would get countered into the Monday Night Special roll-up for Drew to use the ropes, for the ref not to see it, and then for Drew McIntyre to get his 11th win over Sami Zayn via pinfall. And after that hook by crook win, Sami tries to tell the ref what happened for Drew to immediately club him in the back of the head and tried to smash his nose worse, only for Cody Rhodes in his hometown to make his way out and hit a Cody Cutter on Drew McIntyre, only for Kevin Owens, who I don't know where he was, probably in the parking lot in his car, to show up, attack none other than Cody Rhodes. And the only reason I'm laughing, folks, is because right after that, we would then see Cody Rhodes getting help from Sami Zayn for Drew McIntyre to come back into the action and to hold up Cody Rhodes in the corner, and then for Sami to once again kick someone in the face by accident. Now, what we forgot to mention earlier in the night is that Cody, or should I say Sami, talked to Seth Rollins early in the night to try to apologize for that kick to the face. Said it was completely by accident. I didn't mean to do it. I really didn't mean to do it. And for Seth to say, well, with your association with Roman Reigns, not a lot of people are going to believe you on that, but I do. I do believe that it was an accident, but the next time it happens, it's not really an accident, is it? And yeah, even Pat McAfee and Michael Cole were debating on if it was an accident, if he kicked him in the face or not, for Sami to make his way up the ramp and immediately get pissed off at the fact that he kicked a friend in the face, but at the same time with Kevin Owens to give him the old attaboy tap to the chest, we don't know where in the world he lies. And as Cody Rhodes decides to try to shake the cobwebs and talk about what's going to happen during the Royal Rumble, he would say that being champion is not about the belt, it's the mindset and the work you put into it, and wants to move past Kevin Owens so he can find out who in the world he's going to defend this championship against at WrestleMania. But before he can get that word out edgewise, CM Punk would make his way to the ring and would ask him, is everything all right, man? Because everything that's going on with this championship is really starting to get to you. And from someone who held the title for 434 consecutive days, he knows what it can do to you. And he said that when he held the title, he knew he lost friends because of that championship, and said, since you're out here trying to be Bruno Sammartino or even John Cena, nobody's Superman. And then for Cody Rhodes to respond back by saying that, yeah, I'm all right, but at the same time, CM Punk would say, unlike everybody else you surround yourself with, you're my friend. And would say you always will be, not only because of the promise I made to your dad, but also because, well, I love you. Aww. but then would remind him that there is no friends when you're champion, and for Cody Rhodes to say your prediction last year around this time was on the money, and predicting the fact that he would end up being overshadowed by a bigger star as he would try to make his way to the granddaddy of them all, but still would end up winning the championship. Only for CM Punk to give him a new predictable moment for him to sink his teeth into as he makes his way to the Rumble. And what would be CM Punk's predictable prediction this time, folks? He would say to Cody Rhodes that, yeah, luckily for you, you're in your hometown, which means you can sleep at home, but you won't because of the early call time, because of all the press and everything you have to do for the said title match, or you're going to be up because of the said title match. And he's going to think about that after he makes it past him, and then he's going to have to crisscross his way across the country if he's able to make his way past KO, who is a tough son of a gun, only to fill the empty night with a full stadium of fans chanting his name. And while he's doing all of this, someone's gonna get in the best shape of their career, catch up to him, win the Royal Rumble, and fight you on the grand stage in the mall. While you're on the way down, they're gonna be on their way up. And that's the good news. The bad news? It's gonna be me, and me in the form of CM Punk. And would say that unlike the people you surrounded yourself with, I'm not gonna stab you in the back, I'm gonna stab you in the front, for Cody to appreciate that. And would say a little history from CM Punk that back in the day of OVW, you were the man. You got the call up and everybody was chasing you. People were chanting your name after you left for 10 years and you were still being chased, and would even bring up the fact that, yeah, after all that, now you're chasing me. And he hopes he wins the Royal Rumble so he can catch up. For CM Punk to say that there's a lot of people that wanted me to catch up and would mention the graveyard of careers that wanted me to until he did. Only for Cody Rhodes to say that, yeah, I'm not finished yet. I hope you win so I can prove to you that the best in the world isn't the best in the world anymore. For them to have an intense stare down to close out the final Raw prior to the Rumble. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, this Friday on Music Village, we will break down possibly one of the biggest Rumbles in the history of this company. But what will happen the night after the Royal Rumble? Will Cody Rhodes find out who his opponent is, and will it be CM Punk? Who's gonna walk out of that star-studded Rumble pointing at that sign, and will look at that sign as they make the fast lane directly into the granddaddy of them all? Who's gonna end up becoming champion after that ladder match? Will Cody's dreams be shattered? Will the WWE still be on the same plane after whoever wins that said Rumble? We find out the answer to that and more next time for another exciting post-Rumble Road to WrestleMania edition of Monday Night Raw. But until then, folks, I think it's time for us to go grab a glass of water, and when we return, we'll be back with more street-like delight as the Tuesday Night Special rolls on right after this. So don't fall asleep just yet, folks, and stay tuned. All right, all you Insomniatic TV channel surfers out there tonight, welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And now it's time for us to go into yet another Kung Fu Fighting edition of the As Seen on TV. And the show we've got up on the plate for this week, folks, is one that Carl and the Maestro said we should have mentioned a long time ago, which is none other than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in the Half Shell, Turtle Power. If you couldn't tell, we watched a lot of the show. And the meat and potatoes of this said show, which would feature Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, and Michelangelo, being taken care of by none other than Master Splinter, who would unfortunately get exposed to the same radioactive ooze that would be dropped on the 4 turtles he decided to try to take care of, which would turn him into a rat, and the mutant turtles into what they are today, fighting crime and trying to defend the city against the Shredder. And that's the best meat and potatoes we can give for this said show that has been... You don't even know, folks at home, how many times this show has been revived, rehashed, remade, turned into live-action films, serial, cartoons, and I guess merchandise that I've owned as a child. As a matter of fact, before we go into this review, I actually had at one point one of the original members of the said Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think I even had a toy of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for Donatello, representing my name. Well, not Donatello, but the D for my name. And I think my sister had the one for her name, and my brother had one for his name too, given to us by our mother. So, yeah, the Turtles have a close place in my heart. But outside of that, another thing that I loved about this show, folks, would have to be the cool theme song that Postmodern Jukebox would eventually do a Saturday morning slow jam cover for. And also another thing that I loved about this show would have to be the people involved during it. And boy, oh boy, it is a big litany list of people who were involved during this said show, folks. Because first up, we have none other than Cam Clark. And according to Carl and the Maestro, Cam Clark would play none other, and drumroll please, Leonardo for 193 episodes, a part of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But outside of that, he would also play Kaneda, a part of the 1988 cult classic of Akira, and would even play none other than Freddy the Ferret in Back at the Barnyard, the TV series, and also played Liquid Snake in Metal Gear Solid, as well as playing Rocksteady and Mung in the 1987 edition of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which we almost forgot to mention. And according to Carl and the Maestro, nowadays he's playing an indifferent shop owner in Dogman. Nice. Next up on the plate, we have none other than Barry Gordon, who would not only play Razor and Jake Claus, a part of SWAT Cats, the Radical Squadron for 23 episodes, but would also be responsible for playing Donatello and Bebop for 192 episodes for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original 87 version. And of course was also responsible for playing Nick Burns in 1,000 Clowns in 1965, and even playing Barry the Paperboy in The Girl Can't Help It. And oh, before I forget, would also return back to his role of playing Donatello, a part of Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawl 2 and Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3. Not bad. Next up on the list, folks, you have none other than Rob Paulsen, who would be responsible for not only playing Yakko Warner, Pinky, and Dr. Otto, a part of 99 episodes of the original Animaniacs, and the reboot back in 2020, but would also be Pinky, a part of 65 episodes of Pinky and the Brain, and even playing Donatello and the 85 version of Raphael, or 87 according to Carl and the Maestro, a part of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but would go on to play Donatello in the 2012 edition of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Wow, so he switched from Raphael to Donatello most of the way? Not bad. Not bad. Then you have none other than Townsend Coleman, who would not only play the Tick, a part of, well, the Tick, but would also play Corporal Capeman and Sweetly, a part of Inspector Gadget for 8 episodes, and would even play Vizier Abdul as Red, a part of King's Quest 6. And 6, according to Call of the Maestro. Yeah, I got a little bit confused there for a second. And before I forget, was also Michelangelo and the Shredder, a part of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Next up on the plate, you have none other than Renee Jacobs, who would not only play April O'Neil in Jersey Red, a part of 191 episodes of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in '87, but would also play Mrs. O'Neil in the 2014 version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for 1 episode, but would also go on to play April O'Neil in Earth 80, a part of 2 episodes of TMNT Densinium. Didn't know they made another one. But either way you look at it, folks, would also revise her role for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a part of, well, according to Call of the Maestro, the 2014 version, and for the video game as well, too. Not bad. And next up, you have the late, great Peter Rende, who would not only be a part of Assassin's Creed as Almulium for 2007 version of it, but would also play an additional crew member, a part of the Chronicles of Riddick. Even Richard Ames, a part of Metal Gear Solid 2, The Sons of Liberty, and played Duncan, a part of Dragon Age Origins in 2009. Not bad. But a part of this show, folks, he would play none other than Splinter. Nice. For 181 episodes, a part of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Next up, you have none other than Pat Freely. Or Pat Fraley? We'll go with the second one just in case, because this guy was not only Krang and Vern Thompson and even Baxter, a part of 156 episodes of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but was also a part of Princess Mononoke and would revise his role as Krang, a part of the 2016 version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as well as playing Edwin and radio show call-in guy, a part of the Fisher King in '91. Not bad. And as of recently would play none other than the bartender, a part of the show of Carcursum. Nice. Well, at least for 3 episodes. Then you have none other than the late, great James Avery, who would not only play the Shredder for 114 episodes of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and as well as playing Oroku Saki, his alternative version for the said episodes, but would also play Detective Number 2 for Fletch in '85. Mr. Gantry, a part of Raise Your Voice in 2004, and would even play Les DMV Examiner in License to Drive in '88. But most importantly, and what most people know him for, as playing none other than Uncle Phil, a part of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Yeah, awesome guy, really was. And not to mention made a cameo episode during one episode of Family Matters. Nice. Next up after that, folks, you have none other than Jennifer Darling, who would not only play additional voices, a part of the '92 classic film of Aladdin, also for the '97 movie of Hercules, and even a part of the 1999 film of The Iron Giant. Man, she was really a part of my childhood. But to get back on track, folks, was also Peggy Callahan, a part of the Bionic Woman for 7 episodes. And as of late, was even a part of the said game of Final Fantasy Type 0 HD as the Commissar, and was even featured a part of The Last Guest in 2017. Not bad. Then finally, last but not least, since Carl and Michael said we can't be here all night mentioning every single last name possible, which I really wish we could, we would see none other than Jim Cummings, who would not only be Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, a part of, well, Winnie the Pooh, and a part of Christopher Robin, even playing Ray in The Princess and the Frog, Razul and Farouk, a part of Aladdin in 92, and was even responsible during this said show playing none other, and according to Call of the Maestro, the Shredder for 80 episodes from 88 to 95. Not bad. Not bad at all. Now, one of my favorite characters featured a part of this show, and Call of the Maestro said, is it any of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Well, no. Actually, it's none other than Casey Jones, simply because the man's a lunatic. And for those who don't believe me out there, one episode he actually rode a refrigerator to beat the daylights out of people in an alleyway screaming nonsense. So yeah, for those who ever wonder what's the most accurate version of Casey Jones during all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, this one, cause the man's nuts. He's absolutely insane. As a matter of fact, that one episode, he almost attacked the turtles. Which is still funny to me. And seeing the fact that this show would first air on the television sets back in December 28th of 1987, and unfortunately would come to an end just about 5 to 4 years later, or according to Call of the Maestro, saying I'm incorrect, almost 9 years later, but fell short by only a month, seeing the fact that this show would end as of November 2nd of 1996, with this show having well over, and yikes, very hard to trace, but this show having well over 114 episodes, maybe more than that, not counting the ones that got syndicated, and spanning over 9 seasons, and more than that if you count the remakes. And seeing the fact that we don't know how to review shows along the lines of TV Guide or any of those other film reviewers that you know of out there, or TV reviewers, we say this. If you guys want to go ahead and check out a whole bunch of mutant New Yorkers trying to take out a Japanese said group that's been corrupted by a man wearing a classic outfit that'll make you say bonsai as he tries to fight off the mutants in the best way known possible as they enjoy a slice of pizza on a couch, then I recommend you go out there, pick up your TV channel remotes, and watch that show. And, you know, have a little pizza while watching it too. I don't know. I think it bettered the experience for me as a kid. I don't know why. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with more of this Tuesday night special right after this. So don't go watching reruns of Seinfeld just yet, folks. And stay tuned. And we're back with the Insomniatic show that happens to mention a show that's probably as old as I am, only known as the Tuesday Night Special. And 2 things before we go any further, folks. First off, the fact that we forgot to mention that this show had 193 episodes spanned over 10 seasons is insane. And secondly, the only reason we mentioned this show today, not only because of our friends, but also because of the Wu-Tang Clan. And the fact that somebody actually mashed up one of the Wu-Tang Clan's classic songs with an episode of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So the fact that this show was mentioned because of that is absolutely awesome. And one year, we're actually going to mention the entire Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series. You know, all of them being mentioned all at once. But besides that plan in the near future to mention as many versions of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as we can in a month, I think it's time for us to mention a whole bunch of games, as well as awards, sounds, and indie itch games to scratch that indie itch you got at home for the world of IndieCade for another edition of the IndieCade Triple S Deluxe. And we kick things off with the art wall. And the art wall picture that we have up for this week comes from none other than Local Thunk with their set game of Balatro. Or Balatro? According to Caller Maestro, yes, I was blinded by the Ace of Spades. The Ace of Spades. Real funny. Real funny. And speaking of the Ace of Spades, folks, the artwork that we were provided for this week would not only show not only two jacks and a pair of eights I was about to say aces, because on the bottom of the screen you would see an ace, king of diamonds, a queen of clubs, and a 10 of spades, with you having two pair already and a chance to try to score at least 1,200 to earn some big coins. And this automatically reminds me of any game of poker that I've played in just about any game I've played over the past well over 2 decades. And here's hoping in the near future for this set game that you get a chance to play against the wizard to try to win his hat. And Carl in the Maestro said not too entirely sure if you can play against the wizard, but you might play against some very interesting caricatures for this game. Not bad. And hopefully I can take this stuff from winning too. And apparently according to Carl in the Maestro, yeah, you can. Right. And now we make our way on over towards the art wall. And the art wall that we have up for this week comes from none other than Watchful Music with their said sound of Boiling Point level theme that was featured for this week. And when I close my eyes while listening into this sound, it automatically reminds me of the show that Carl and the Maestro was able to produce that the PR department was a part of, called Mad World. Or was it Mad Town? Apparently it was Mad City according to them. And the reason that it was called Mad City, folks, was because of the sheer insanity that took place every single week during that show that would eventually see them try to leave the town only to come back to it. So you mean something like Paranoia Agent, right? Yeah, and as a matter of fact, they said it was shot at around 3 a.m. every morning for that show, and the reason why in the world it didn't last long, because they would have to air it in less than 30 minutes. Ooh, yeah, rough filming schedule. I can see the reason why it didn't last. And with that said, folks, we now make our way on over towards the Screenshot Saturday Showcase, and the screenshot we have up for this week comes from the developers Empty Head Games with their set game of Saberless. And the screenshot that we were provided for this week shows our heroine as she tries to cross across a rickety old bridge while having what appears to be either a stork, a swan, or an ostrich yelling at her at full speed, causing her to blow back a bit while on this giant bridge that overlooks a waterfall and a whole bunch of rocks below. But if she's able to get past this said creature, she can make her way up that ladder and I guess drop that wooden plank on the top of that bird's head so it can knock it off. And this game automatically reminds me of, I would have to say it reminds me of Super Mario Brothers. I don't know why, but I got a feeling that giant bird is somehow related to one of the enemies that keeps you from that goal line in one of the classic Super Mario Brothers games. And here's hoping in the near future, what I said before, a chance for you to drop something on the top of that bird's head to knock it off would be a good thing. Hopefully you can do it. That or get a chance to tame the bird so it can help you get through the stage. And Carl and Michael said that's a more friendly answer and they'll accept it. Of course you would. Of course you would. And with that said, folks, we now head on over to the winners of the Indy Cade Festival of Games. And what we have up right now is the Visual Design Award that went to none other than Miniatures from Other Tales Interactive. Next game we have up from the Live Action Award went to Chromacorp from the Chromacorp team. Then for the Audio Design Award and Music Power Up, or for the Audio Design Award would go to Music Power Up by Micro Studios. And finally, last but not least, the Tabletop Design Award winner, The Zone by Ralph D'Amico. And with that said, folks, we now make our way on over to those indie itch games to scratch that indie itch you've got at home. And the first one we've got up comes from none other than Go Strawberry Man. Nice name, by the way, with their said game of platformer movement God Dog. CF Monk Dev with their said game of Bubble Guard. Local VHS with their said game of Pachinko. Stray Chicken Productions with their said game of A Moment in the Sky. Killer Goose with their said game of The Space Adventure. And Nimoy VR with their said game of Avarice. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that are still making their way through that Indie Itch page to scratch that Indie Itch you've got at home, then you can go ahead and head on over to the itch.io page of one man only known as itch.io under the games section to check out all of those cool games over there for yourselves. And trust me, folks, you'll be there for a while because they've got well over 1 million of them. Trust me, they do. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool games, a part of the Art Wall, Sound Wall, Screenshot Saturday Showcase, or even the games that won from this past year Festival of Games, or even the Night Games, or even have a couple of your games over there as well, then you can go ahead and head on over to the IndieCade.tumblr page of one man only known as IndieCade.tumblr.com, or head on over to their Facebook page known as IndieCade, or even their Twitter, Flickr, Instagram, YouTube, Soundcloud, Discord, or even Steam Machine page or website that are all named the same, but it's just as critically acclaimed, only known as, you guessed it folks, IndieCade. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into that music and continue to listen into these diamonds in the rough as we try to turn your Tuesday night into a Friday night. Only here, right here, on the Tuesday Night Special. So don't fall asleep just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Right, all you Streetlight Crusaders, welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And me, Carl, and the Maestro got in a little bit of a huddle with the PR department and has decided as of now, even though it's a long way off, as of this upcoming AC December, to go into the nearly 40-year anniversary of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we're gonna mention every single iteration of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles we can, leading into the Year of the Fist for next year. So yeah, that's the battle plan. Let's just hope that I write it down and make sure we stick to it. And Carl and the Maestros give me the thumbs up and making sure they wrote a note about it so we don't forget it. All right, there you go. But besides that way in the future plan we've got for you fans, ending off this year, leading into the next, I think it's time for us, as Dan the Weatherman Stu makes his way up the stairs with that ridiculous mink coat on, to find out what the weather's gonna be for this week with Dan the Weatherman Stu delivering the 5-day weather forecast for this week. Dan the Weatherman Stu, the microphone is all yours, and can you even walk in that thing? Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from around the world, it's your boy from Chicago, Illinois, Dan the Weatherman Stu here, making a 5-day weather forecast for this week. And Dan the Weatherman Stu can't walk in this coat. It just takes me a minute. Hold on, let me see how big and thick that coat is. Whoa, Buddy, I'm going to tell you as a little bit of advice as somebody who wore a giant coat before and freaking hair got in my nose from that coat. Yeah, you might want to wear a lighter coat wherever you go because it's going to be a bit of a nightmare as to whether it gets colder for you to walk around in that thing. Don't worry, DJ Smokey, I got on these stabilizers to help me wear the coat. And plus, it looks cool. Stabilizers? That's not stabilizers. You put Velcro in the inside of the coat so it can stick to you so you can walk with it. Actually, that's not a half bad idea. I might actually use that. But you know, before I go into any of the ridiculous ideas you've got up your sleeves, could you go do the weather? Seriously, it's cold in here. Go do the weather. All right. So for tonight, that's right, Tuesday night, it's going to be a low of 27. Cloudy skies all around with winds going south, southwest at 8 miles per hour. And on Wednesday, here comes the wind. Because it's going to be a high of 49, low of 20 degrees. Cloudy skies and windy all around at west with 21 degrees of wind. That's 21 miles per hour of wind, man, and I don't like that. Well, DJ Smokey doesn't like that, but I do. And on Thursday, another windy day for you. Because it's going to be a high of 40 degrees, low of 27. Partly cloudy skies with winds going west at 10 miles per hour. And on Friday, start of the new month weekend, bueno. Because it's going to be a high of 44, low of 28. Rainy skies all around with winds going southwest at 4 miles per hour. And on Saturday, the start of the month of greatness, boy, because it's going to be a high of 36, low of 14, partly cloudy skies with winds going north, northwest at 12 miles per hour. And on Sunday, not a sunny day at all. Because it's going to be a high of 35, low of 30 degrees. Nightly snow showers at 31% with winds going east, southeast at 8 miles per hour. And now you know, because I've got to go, because I am down the Wonderman store. I'm through for the Wonder broadcast for this week. And now back to the man who's trying to hold my mink coat in his hand, DJ Smokey for the Tuesday Night Special. Yeah. Well, Dan the Weatherman Stu, besides Wednesday being windier than all hell, you know, I'm wondering, why in the world are you hoping for a windy day for Wednesday? What did Wednesday ever do to you? Well, DJ Smokey, I'm hoping for a windy day so I can take this thing out and fly it. Because that's the $64,000 question, ain't it? What? Wait, what? Wait, Colin Maestro, did you tell him that the $64,000 question for the month of greatness to kick it off is to fly a mink coat in windy weather? That's going to happen in March. Why did you tell him now? As a matter of fact, you probably ruined the question. Well, DJ Smokey, I'll wait till March to fly a mink coat in windy weather. Till then, see you later. Dan the Weatherman Stu out. Yeah. Hey, Dan the Weatherman Stu, you're not going to get me sued for flying a kite coat. No, get back here. What the... you know what? I give up. I give up. He's gone already, but at the same time, I slipped up and couldn't tell him to not fly a kite coat outside, if there's such a thing. I think he's been watching too many Looney Tunes, and it's starting to give me a headache, man. It's starting to give me a headache. But besides Dan the Weatherman still giving me a headache, I think it's time for us to calm it down with a little bit of your musical tunes. And when we return, we'll be back with more of the Tuesday Night Special with another edition of the Indy Report right after this. So don't head downstairs for that pre or post midnight snack just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Right, all you Streetlight Crusaders, welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And according to Carl and the Maestro about the plan for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, will it include all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle films? Why, yes it will. From AC December all the way into the Year of the Fist for next year as well, too. So, yeah, it's gonna be a big one, folks, so buckle up. You know, just wish I could have waited until the 40th anniversary. But at the same time, Carl and Michael said it should be absolutely perfect. Now, if I wasn't going to get a copyright strike, I would have actually included Mr. Perfect's theme there. But, hey, somebody will edit it in the future. Hopefully. But besides someone adding the perfect theme to a perfect moment that'll take place by AC December of this year, I think it's time for us to go into one of my favorite parts of the show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, none other than the Indy Report, which is me giving you guys 2 news stories followed up by local concert information from local artists performing in a local area live near you. And in our first news story, and in sad news or bad news, or might as well say it like Bad News Barrett, for you fans out there hoping for the DLC to come out in time for the end of year 6 for the division, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Because what's been going on recently with Ubisoft, with them recently letting go just about a lot of people from their staff, yeah, we knew this announcement was coming because they would say the following. Greetings, agents. Our team is dedicated to continuing to build the future of Division 2. We have exciting updates in store, including the new season we can't wait for you to play starting in February. We know you eagerly await the release of the upcoming DLC. To ensure we deliver the best possible experience, we've decided to take a little extra time to refine it. Therefore, the DLC will not ship during year 6. Thank you for your patience and support. Stay tuned for more updates. It would say stay tuned. More updates are heading your way soon. I can hear the internet groan and moan from this announcement, folks, and for good reason. Because a lot of people were waiting for this update for the longest amount of time to find out what sort of cool things you could get, see if we're going to finally get powers or tech from the Black Tusk. Yeah, a lot of people were really riding on this. And to find out that it won't be available until year 7? Yikes! A lot of people online would say comments such as insane, well, it's been fun, and have a whole bunch of different forms of memes giving off their displeasure for this said announcement. Now, in my opinion, with the fact that this DLC has now been delayed till the next year, I say we find out what's going to happen by this season. I mean, the story is still picking up. We're finding out what's going on with Keener. So I guess we wait till year 7 to find out where it leads. I guess the best silver lining I can give for it. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out this special message for you fans out there from the Division 2 team, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Twitter page of one man only known as The Division Game to check it out for yourselves. And as a bit of a heads up, the new season will kick off as of February 25th of 2025. So yeah, for those wondering out there, the I guess the Riddler season that's currently in effect is going to finally come to an end as of the 25th. Yikes. And in other news, and more or less WWE video game news, and something we forgot to mention, because for you fans out there who was chomping at the bit for this game and forgot that I didn't mention the release date for it, with the cover star now being Roman Reigns, well, it looks like you will not have to wait long to play this game. And what do I mean by that, folks? Well, it looks like you're gonna have to wait a month plus to get your hands on this game. And not only you will have different editions of the game, not only the Bloodline edition, but you will also have none other than the Undertaker edition, the Dead Man edition for the game as well too. Nice! Nice! Now I, for one, even though I'm a little bit excited for the game with all the new features, one thing I'm really hoping for is for them to finally update the Create an Arena, Create a Championship, and the entire Creation Suite, including Universe Mode. Because I got a feeling this game's gonna have potential. It really is. With it being the 25th year they have for the game, technically if you don't count the fact that they didn't bring 2K21 into the books, they have a chance to really turn the corner with this game, and I really hope they do. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out what you can get with the different editions of this game, and even check out the cool trailer for it, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Twitter page of one man only known as WWE Games to check it out for yourselves. And as a little bit of a heads up, WWE 2K25 will make its way to stores everywhere as of March 14th of 2025. And as a heads up, if you get the Undertaker edition or even the Golden Bloodline edition, you will be able to get it 7 days early as of December, or I was about to say December, as of March 7th of 2025, which I got a feeling if New Legacy Inc. gets their hands on it, they may break it, which I'm anticipating. And with that said, folks, we now head into the concert information, where we kick things off with Wednesday, January 29th. And the first band we have up is The Whites, who's going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas, at 12 p.m. The Castaways is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas, at 3 p.m. The Chrome Wheels Band is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas, at 6 p.m. You can also see none other than Victims, who's going to be performing at the Heavy Hitter and, or should I say, Carla the Maestro interrupted me and said, Victims with the Heavy Hitters and Saltwood is all going to be performing at the Brick by Brick in San Diego, California, at 6 p.m. And thank you for helping me with that ballpark error, guys. Give me the thumbs up over in the corner, too. Nice. Anyway, next band we've got up besides ballpark errors is Arkansas, who's going to be performing at the Chicky Wawa in New Orleans, Louisiana, at 7 p.m. Havalia is going to be performing at the Tim's Tavern in Seattle, Washington, at 7 p.m. Nathan Ham is going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas, at 7 p.m. Steven Inglis is going to be performing at the Perry Silver Dollar in Fairfax, California, at 8 p.m. Snit's Dog and Pony Show is going to be performing at the Dan Electro Guitar Bar in Houston, Texas, at 8 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Wednesday night, you could see Jacole Haleman, better known as Prophet P, who's going to be performing at the Strat Hotel Casino and Sky Pod in Las Vegas, Nevada, at 10 p.m. And on Thursday, February 6th, wait, what? Colin the Maestro said they're bad, What we meant to say was Thursday, January 30th. You can see these following bands performing in a local area near you live. Great recovery, guys. And the first band we have up is the C4 Band, who's going to be performing at the Bobby's Idle Hour Tavern in Nashville, Tennessee at 12:30 p.m. The Browning with the Dropout Kings, Filth, The Defect, and one other band yet to be announced is all going to be performing at the Brick by Brick in San Diego, California at 6 p.m. Greg Fundies is going to be performing at the House of Blues in Houston, Texas at 7 p.m. Petty Party is going to be performing at the Old Town Community Theater in Tecolooma, California at 7 p.m. James Popick is going to be performing at the Sellersville Theater in Sellersville, Pennsylvania at 7 p.m. Buck Yeager is going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 7 p.m. You can also see Diana Bellerose, who's going to be performing at the Viper Room in West Hollywood, California at 7:50 p.m. Falling Doves is going to be performing at the Viper Room in West Hollywood, California at 8 p.m. What, only 10 minutes before the performance of Diana Bellerose? Huh, weird. But besides that clash in performance, folks, next up you have Patrice Pike, who's going to be performing at the Saxton Pub in Austin, Texas at 8 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Thursday night, you can see Liana Prima, who's going to be performing at the Carousel Bar and Lounge in the Hotel Montalone in New Orleans, Louisiana at 9 p.m. And for Tuesday for next week, which is February 4th, you can see these following bands performing in a local area live near you. Greg Mathers is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 12 p.m. The Castaways is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 3 p.m. Ritz with Doc Backer is going to be performing at the Brick by Brick in San Diego, California at 6 p.m. Purple Kiss, nice band name, is going to be performing at the Rev Room in Little Rock, Arkansas at 6 p.m. Now, before we move on to the next band, did anybody else imagine at home that they're a band that's like Kiss that has purple makeup on instead of white? I did. But besides that visual, folks, next band we've got up is the Whites, who's going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 6 p.m. Nate Nielsen Acoustic is going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 7 p.m. Marty C. Moore is going to be performing at the Froggies in Virginia Beach, Virginia at 7 p.m. You can also see none other than Megan Windsor, who's going to be performing at the Hotel Cafe in Los Angeles, California at 8 p.m. Nathan Stone is going to be performing at the Oxenfree Public House in Brookings, Oregon at 8 p.m. Karaoke Tuesday is going to be performing at the Mr. Peabody's in Encinitas, California at 8:30 p.m. According to Call of the Maestro, out of order, but mention it anyway, you can see Jim Fish with the Mountain Country Band, who's going to be performing at the Cabin in Park City, Utah at 8 p.m. Prophet P is going to be performing at the Strat Hotel Casino and Sky Pod in Las Vegas, Nevada at 10 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for on Tuesday for next week, and for all the bands we're going to mention for this week, you can see none other than Milo Z, who's going to be performing at the Red Lion in New York at 10 p.m. If you guys want to go ahead and check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast, and trust me folks, there were a lot of them, you can head on over to ReverbNation.com to check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast. And while you're over there, check out a couple of their cool tunes too. Trust me, they're worth the listen. And like we say at the end of all of these skits, go out there, support your local artists, and see these guys perform live. And trust me, they'll love you for it. And I guess with that said, we might as well head back into that music one more time. And when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for the Tuesday Night Special for this week, right after this. So don't fall asleep just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Well, all you Streetlight Crusaders, seeing the fact that we ran fresh out of Streetlight Crusader oil for this week and we've got to get out of here to get some more for next week's show, we might as well bring the Tuesday Night Special for this week and for this year of the Fizz to an emphatic close. But don't worry, if you miss any of that Streetlight delight that we were able to give you for this week, we got you covered, because you can catch this show again one more time, all the time, on our SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr pages, still all named the same, only known as Music Village Radio under the hashtag Tuesday Night Special 524. And according to Carl and the Maestro, this time we are further away from it than we were from last week. Good. And that's all thanks to the AAA service that they gave Dan the Weatherman Steel for that tire. And if you guys want to figure out all the crazy and zany things we still got prepared for these remaining days of this year of the Fizz, heading directly into the 28 days of greatness, like great tire service that he was able to get thanks to a couple of mechanics, then you can go ahead and check it out on our YouTube, Discord, and Twitter pages, still all named the same, only known as the Double Agent 0012. Before we head out for the night, we would like to thank, as always, you the Streetlight Crusaders out there, for listening in to a very special Lunar New Year late night fighting edition of the Tuesday Night Special. If you guys and gals out there like what you heard, go out there and spread the word. You know what? Like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles after a good fight? Yeah, you know the PR department knows where I'm going with this one, and they already got the turtle outfits on as we speak. And if you're wondering, yes, I'm dressed up as Casey Jones right now to be a part of the bit, so they give me the thumbs up for that too. And we would also like to thank you, the independent artists out there, for doing that musical goodness like you always do. And keep up the great work, guys, and here's hoping your music gets featured in another future iteration of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that we'll cover before the end of this year. And why? Because we believe in you guys. That's why. And plus you have probably come up with a cool remix for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme. Just saying. And speaking of people with cool themes that was featured a part of cool shows, and we're not talking about the weather, folks, we would like to thank our musical guest for this week, none other than Jason Klug with his said song, A Pet the Dog, that was featured during the intro for this week's edition of the show. Carl and the Maestro with their said song of the Lunar Awakening that was featured during the Indy Report for this week. And of course, the man you're listening to in the background right now, none other than Tekno AXE with his said song of Friday Funk that is closing us out for this week as we speak for this week's edition of the Tuesday Night Special. Like always, guys, keep up the great work, and we can't wait to hear what you got coming down the tubes next. And finally, last but certainly not least, we would like to thank you, the independent gamers out there, for coming out with all those sweet video game hits and clips we had a chance to mention during this week's show. And like always, keep up the great work, and we can't wait to see what you got coming down the tubes next, because you never know what show might come around the corner with it. Hint, 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 hint. And I guess with everybody thanked, you guys out there know we go out. I'm DJ Smokey on behalf of Carl and the Maestro, and for you up-all-nighters, late-night drivers, insomniatic TV watchers, gamers, grapplers, and especially you Streetlight Crusaders celebrating the last night of this year of the Fist on a Tuesday night, saying, Cowabunga! But most importantly, when there's smoke, there's fire. And we'll see you guys next week for another late night, great night edition of the Tuesday Night Special. But until then, go get some sleep, and good night, everybody.